how do you know if one is overpaid by mistake and must pay it back? So if there's an overpayment due, how do you know that?
Oh, they'll let you know.
Is it,
You get a letter.
it's just a letter?
Yeah, the letter must tell you why they believe that you've been overpaid. It must tell you the amount that you've been overpaid, and then they'll usually let you agree to an amount. That has changed just recently, actually, in the last couple of years. They used to do tiny amounts of repayment, and they don't play that game anymore. They want to get bigger chunks back now. But you'll get a letter, and it'll basically say, okay, you were overpaid because you went back to work and you didn't let us know, and therefore there were several months where you were making over the limit and still receiving a check, and those months, for all the money that your check was, you've got to pay that back, and they'll tell you that. You can always appeal it. It's an appealable decision that they make. For my Title 16, my SSI clients, you can usually make a pretty strong argument that I don't have that money. If I did that, and I didn't do it deliberately to deceive. Oh my goodness, I've gone back to work, and I'm not going to tell Social Security, because they'll cut me off. Okay, that's deliberate, and
That's a different game, yeah.
But you just went to work, and let's say that you're like, I want to try it, because disability consulting, my representative says you should always try, and we do always try. If you think you can work, you got to try it. And if it happens for you, then you tell Social Security, hey, I've gone back to work. And if it doesn't work for you, it makes it easier for me to prove your case. But let's say you did that, you tried to work, and it just didn't work out. But you were over for like 3 or 4 months, and they said, oh, you were over for 3 or 4 months, and we want that money back. And my SSI clients, the SSI programs, it's part of the old welfare program. It's a needs based. That's why it has the income and resource limits. So you could make an argument. Okay, I don't have any money. I don't have any resources. How do you expect me to pay back this money? I request a waiver, and you'll usually get a waiver. Now, Title II, SSDI. You can request a waiver, but you'd have to make a pretty strong argument as to why, one, it wasn't your fault, and then two, I can't pay it back. And that'll go nowhere if you're still working. Mm-hmm. It'll Social Security will be like, nah, we're not going to grant a waiver. You're still working, and of course they'll never grant a waiver if they determine that you did it deceptively. You deliberately deceived Social Security. I'm just not going to tell them that I went back to work.
Like lying on your taxes or stuff like that.
If they find that you deliberately, they're not going to waive an overpayment. And of course, the rest of us out here are like, no, they shouldn't waive it. You shouldn't be.
Don't commit fraud. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be practicing to deceive Social Security, because they will catch up with you.
Yeah. And so probably most of the time when you get the letter that's a overpayment statement, or whatever the letter is actually called, but letting you know that you have an overpayment, that's probably usually at the same time that you get the letter that they stop your benefits. Do those generally go hand in hand?
No. They'll tell you that it stopped, and then the overpayment letter is usually later.
Are they still trying to determine how much?
Because they're computing it, So they won't come at the same time. They might come within a couple months of each other, but they're not going to come at the very same time.
Okay, yeah. So, they'll let you know by letter, and then also to prevent that, easiest thing to do is just, if you go back to work, let Social Security know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you attest, and everybody has to attest to the claim. So what happens is, in any kind of, whether you're doing it on your own or you're using a representative firm like us, if you make an application online, or if we make the application online for you, you're going to get a notice that I attest that all this is true. Yes, that's my name. Yes, that's my birth date. Yes, that's my social security number. Yes, that's my spouse. Yes, they work here. Da, 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 da. Yes, I have these children. So, of course, you don't have to write all that, but you're just attesting to it, and you're looking for anything that's wrong. And if anything's wrong, you can correct it and you send it back to Social Security. But you have to send it back to Social Security. You have to attest to your claim. And one of the things that you attest to in every single claim, SSI, SSDI, it doesn't matter. I will let Social Security know if I go to work and, basically am no longer, eligible for the program. You attest to that.
Yeah.
And, whether you realize it or not, you do attest to that, and they will hold you to that. And there's no way that you can get out of that, especially if you practice to deceive. So, yeah. Just let them know.